Welcome back, everybody. This is the April 2024 Legion Go update. If you have not touched Legion Space in a while, it is time to dust it off and update it. Yes, there is finally another update. Let's check out what's inside. As usual, you open Legion Space and you can see it is now version 1.0.2.9. That is the newest version. So there are two key things in this update, among other little things, but two key things that I was really looking forward to. Let's cover the first one. As noted in future updates from the previous videos, they did mention battery conservation mode. This is a big one for me because I use this in all my devices. Some of you may be used to using this. Some of you may have never heard of it and don't know why. As a rule of thumb, it's good to keep your devices between 20 and 80%, and you can keep cycling around there. If you have battery issues, of course, you've heard you can cycle the battery from 0 to 100 and do that 2 or 3 times to sort of reset it. And that does work, and it is known to fix things, but typically you want to keep your battery in the range of 20 to 80% for health reasons to maintain the longevity of the battery. This will now limit it to 80% plus or minus 5%. So as it's simple as going to the general tab, you just click optimize battery charging, toggle it on, and boom, you're set to 80%. This is great if you constantly dock it. So this will maintain the battery at a better health for longer periods of time. Granted, this is swappable, I'm sure, but that's a nice feature to have. So this is one I'm pretty excited about. So I recommend toggling this on when you are using it plugged in, using it at home. And when you know you're going out, toggle it off, charge it to 100%. Once you boot this up, you will also get the confirmation to update the controller. That's because there are some controller implementations for customization in this one, which is the other huge factor that I'm excited about. If you go down to the controller section in Legion Space, you can see that there is button mapping, which has been there, but you click edit and you haven't been able to select a profile. You've only been able to view the profile in the past, and you can see this. I can't recall, but I feel like this image is a lot sharper than it used to be. It's very high definition, so I'm really liking that. As simple as that seems. Here, you're gonna click the template section and you'll add a template, and this you can go ahead and name it. I went ahead and named one CJ, so you can select that template and you can map that. And here you can reset it, which is nice. So you click Y if you just want to reset it back to start. You can click X to clear the command. You can see here on the bottom the buttons to control it. But let's say I want to swap the button with A, then I can go ahead and tap it and it's set, but I can reset the template, confirm, and now it's back. You can do what you want with this. Some people may not find any use in this. Some people may find a lot of use in this. So it's really, it really depends on the situation. But this is nice. For emulators, this may be really good because some emulators, a lot of software lets you map your own keys. But because of the integration with this being a Windows device, sometimes that's a problem. I know that that's been a problem with some of the remote play for me. So this is a nice feature to have. I've been using third-party stuff, which I need to throw that video up online. I'm going to do that in the future, but this is a nice start. You also have the rear view here, and you can sort of adjust the back buttons as well. I haven't enjoyed this yet because this just happened this morning, but for now, I know I can think of some things in the future that this will work great for. The other nice thing about the custom profiles is it's in the quick menu. So you see I added CJ profile here. So if I go down to the gaming section in the quick menu and I click the profile button, you can see my custom profile for my controller is right there, which is awesome. Still for me, I tend to use this cog setting, this menu with the brightness and the resolution and the refresh rate, the absolute most. I wish that was on top instead of the performance menu, but still maybe they'll allow us to change that at some point. The other addition is custom FPS mode. So this was something I was looking for in the very beginning when I got this device, and now I can't remember why, but I was looking for it. I think because I wanted to customize more of the buttons to get into my workflow for editing, but I'm gonna get into this later. So it's the same sort of setup. You get the layout of the buttons on here. You can it's actually letting you customize both sides. That's interesting. You can do a lot with this, and this may help people who are using this as a work device or anything besides gaming, but this is also great for gaming because a lot of people use this as a mouse to play. And it's not too bad. I've had pretty good experiences with the reflexes and the sort of sensitivity of this device as a mouse. It's been great. It's really awesome that you could just take this off in the pinch and use it, and it's pretty good. The other good thing about the custom FPS mode is you may be able to switch some of the buttons to make it easier for left-handed people. Not exactly sure if that will be ideal, but at least it will be a nice compromise for left-handed people or people who have a unique setup, maybe disabled or anything. Maybe that will help you get a better feel using that. So it's just great to have more options. Another minor update they added is in the system quick settings. When you have that pop up, they did add Alt plus Escape as an additional button. What that does on a typical keyboard is it just opens the next window in succession from the order they were opened in. So if you have 3 Chrome windows open and 2 games or something, you just keep pressing Alt Escape and it will go to the next window that was open. This may be more beneficial when you are docked and using an external monitor or multiple monitors, but it's nice to have. Another addition is inside of the menu here, under drivers, you can click check for updates, and this will cycle around for a minute. Additionally to showing the new updates, it will also give you a section to see older updates. I believe this is new. So this is what I'm on, for example. I'm on the 8.6 version of the AMD chipset driver. Now available is the 12.14. So this lists some of the currently installed versions of the drivers below, which is nice, so you can kind of cross-reference without having to go into the device manager and look at them one by one. Most importantly, on top here is the new versions of them, and you can see the BIOS N31 is the new one, and I have not updated it yet, but I will. Under the performance tab, you can go down and you can see FPS limiter, which has been there, but now instead of increments that are normal, such as 30, 45, 60, etc., it allows you to put it at any precise FPS limit you would like. So this will limit the FPS that your system can output. Granted, on most AAA games, this isn't even hitting 60, so it's not that big of a deal, but one example I can think to use this with is inside of Steam. You can get this lossless scaling app. I think it's $6. It's pretty old, but they've updated it quite a bit with this LSFG. It's been upgraded quite a bit for this frame rate generation. I've tried it and it's relatively similar to everything else. I still think that FSR 2.0 and especially the 3.0 is going to be better, but it depends on the game. So that's the answer. It's going to depend on what you're playing and what you're playing on for any of this stuff to be optimal. So it's really trial and error. But for this frame generation to work, you have to lock the FPS. That is the key. So it has to be locked. So for instance, if you're playing a game on here that's not too powerful, you can lock the FPS. Inside the FPS limiter, you can lock this exactly at 60 FPS. And if it stays there, that lossless scaling app will actually interpolate and put it at 120 FPS, and it looks really good. And sometimes I'm getting it reading that and sometimes I'm not, but I can tell that the FPS has doubled and it might go in and out. So it's touchy and it's maybe glitchy is the word, but it's not perfect, but when it does work, it's pretty smooth and it's not bad. So I have to experiment more, and it's been around a while, so it's nothing new, but it's kind of nice to have this integrated to use that now. So if you want to try that out, you can try the lossless scaling app on Steam, and you can try it with this. You can also pin this at 30, which this can stay pinned at for almost every game, and that will put it at 60 FPS. So that's a nice feature. I think the frame generation works best with that scenario. But I have been doing it with 60 with a lot of games. Diablo 4, for example, I just picked that up recently, or I started playing it recently. I tend to buy games and never play them, but I have been able to get it at 60 FPS, and then it jumps it up to 120, but the frame rate doesn't actually read it, but I can tell on the screen, you can tell what 120 FPS looks like. The problem is that we can't lock this refresh rate at 120. You can build a custom refresh rate with some side-loaded AMD stuff, I think, or maybe some third-party stuff. It is possible. I have not done it, but this has worked somehow. I can't explain it, to make the FPS better. What I've ended up doing most of the times for Diablo 4, for example, is I just leave it set at 1200p and use FSR to get the best frame rate there. As long as it's somewhere around 50 to 60 to 70, I'm happy. So you can play with the performance or ultra and the graphics on high, medium, etc., but different games will all be different. So trial and error, but the FPS limiter is there, and it's also in the quick menu under the first tab, so you can pick the custom FPS limiter there. One last small thing is when you turn on RSR, it will disable FPS limiter. It has this thing, feature conflict. So if you have RSR on, if you use that sort of scaling method, and then you go to use the FPS limiter, there is now a notification that will tell you they do not work in sync, so you must use FPS limiter by itself. Another notification that's really nice that I like is when you disconnect the controller, right controller is attached, right controller is detached. It's a little more clear. If they had, I don't even know if they had notifications before. I want to say they didn't, but it's nice that you can see right or left. Sometimes, because this is such a subtle click and such a small section of movement to know if it's on or off, sometimes you're not sure if it's on or off. It's not as distinct as the Nintendo Switch, for example. So that is nice to see that, hey, it's all the way on. Granted, I've had great success with these. They're still, I know there's been complaints. Mine are still not loose, which is nice. That's hit or miss with different devices as well, and how they're treated possibly, or defective possibly. I don't know, but that's nice to see. Under the admin in Windows, the Legion left and right keys were being invalidated. That was a bug. If anyone was affected by that, it has been fixed. That is the one bug report I've seen on this. The couple of future improvements noted, which I think were in the past one as well, is the customization to manually select the Xbox key. I think right now it's left Legion and R3. Yeah, it is. In the future, you'll be able to set a manual button for the Xbox button if you use Xbox Game Pass and all that, which actually is pretty cool. So I could see that being really useful. That is coming in the future. The other big one in the future is per game profiles for button mapping. And that's probably not going to come on the next update. That's been mentioned a few times. It'll probably be the next 2 updates, but that's a big one. However, you can now just go into the controller and name your layout for the game. So you technically could do that and just have a bunch of them here in the quick menu, and then you can just select which game it is. And if you're only playing a couple of games at a time, you can just have them there. So technically you can do that, but they will have per game layouts coming in the future, which is still awesome. That is one thing I was looking forward to as well. It is mentioned that the very next update is going to be focused on the UI and polishing this and hopefully making it better. And it's been updated a few times, a little bit, tweaks here and there, but if people really use this, it looks like they're going to put some more focus onto this, and some heavy influence may go into this, so that's good. And the gyro implementation should be better. Right now, I can still only turn it off on the controllers. Yep, still can't turn it off for the unit itself, but it looks like they're going to keep working on that. So maybe we'll find use in the gyro for gaming at this point. So after this, the next update should improve the gyro, and maybe we can find some functionality. The people who don't really use it much, still exciting to see things coming. The UI overhaul may also just be focusing on the entire thing. So maybe this settings interface, which is pretty much the thing I primarily use, maybe this will be overhauled as well. It's not bad, it's a little basic, but maybe they'll make it nicer. I don't know. So it's exciting because it's like getting a new version of Android or iOS. You can say, oh, there's some cool little features that come. Just like when they added the joystick rings, that was awesome. That's my favorite thing, as ridiculous as it sounds. And lastly, they said the VGA driver for the AMD graphics will be coming soon. So the next update for that should be coming. Anyone experiencing problems with games or whatnot, that is on its way. So hang tight. That is it for the April update. It's a little more condensed than usual, but that's not necessarily a bad thing because they sort of optimized this device and it's getting better and better and better. There's less and less to fix, and everything so far seems like improvements at this point, so it's just been really nice. I see a lot of complaints and I don't get it because I've had almost a flawless experience from the start and I had this day one, so I guess it's hit or miss for people and it depends on what you use this for, but so far I've had such an amazing experience. I just don't see it. If there's a problem, usually there's a way around it, or there's a solution, or the worst thing is really the fan, I suppose, and the high-pitched noise, but that one can be avoided as well. So realistically, it's just been great and a great experience so far, but it's nice to see that these updates are continuous and they're still coming. So more on the way. Stay tuned. Subscribe for more. I will update again when the next one drops. Have a great week, and I will see you in the next video. Take care.